Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Eric Wright. I'm with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office here in Olathe, Kansas. I'm here to talk about our Take Me Home program, which is a free program that we offer to residents of Johnson County that might have a difficulty communicating. That's in a nutshell, basically what we tell people the program is for. So if someone has a hard time communicating, whatever their diagnosis, their situation, they can enroll in this program, and we will have this database, and it will help us get them home, just like the name of it. I've been a deputy sheriff with Johnson County for 25 years. I usually teach this class, autism awareness and developmental disability awareness, to new recruits at the police academy or to in-house when we do in-house training with our deputies here. So I'm usually teaching it from that side of the aisle, from the police department side of the aisle. But I am also a parent of two kiddos that are on the autism spectrum. They're 20 and 18 now. So I come at it from that angle too, and I try to teach the new recruits what it's like as a parent dealing with a situation like this, somebody that might wander. My 18-year-old's nonverbal. He used to wander, knock on wood, luckily not so much anymore. My 20-year-old, she can communicate fine and tell people, her address and where she belongs and things like that. But I'll go ahead and start this. The point of the presentation tonight, I know, is about elopement, and that's what Take Me Home addresses. So elopement, what is elopement? Just a dictionary definition, an elopement is an act or an instance of leaving a safe area or a safe premises done by a person with a developmental disorder or cognitive impairment. So they may have some cognitive impairment, developmental disorder, autism, Alzheimer's, something like that, and they leave somewhere that's safe or where they are safe. So what do we do if we have an elopement? From our point of view, as the police department, this is what we want to tell everybody. This is what we'd like everyone to know. Some things you can consider, first of all, would be to secure your home. These are just little tips we give people. You might consider things like installing door or window alarms. Battery operated, they can get more fancy, more expensive, the more elaborate you get. Using child safety locks on interior doors, the little doorknob covers that you have to squeeze to turn the doorknob to get it to open. Maybe secondary locks on exterior doors that are up above the child's reach, something like that. Interior doors, you might consider getting doors that lock and unlock from both sides in case the child locks themselves in. These are all from personal experience, these ideas on this page, actually. And those things have all helped. They eventually grow up and figure out some of those locks, but that's when you have to get more elaborate with it. Another thing I try to tell parents that I meet or I run into is consider spreading the word about what's going on. Reach out to people you interact with and talk to them about your loved one, your kiddo that's on the spectrum. This could mean family members, friends, teachers, and even neighbors. I found out, the people right around my house, they know our situation. They know about my son, and they have met him, and they know him, and they know my phone number. They know to call me if they see him wander off. Just be frank. You'll find out that a lot of people are receptive and willing to help out. And again, share your phone number with them so they can get a hold of you if there is an incident of wandering. You might also consider keeping some kind of picture ID and descriptors with you, or somewhere that you can get to them quickly. I know we've got people here joining us from both sides of state line, and I'm not that familiar with with Missouri Department of Revenue. But I know in Kansas, you can get a state issued ID card at any age. You just have to go in person to your local DMV. And there's a link there for the Kansas Department of Revenue. If you want that, it explains how to get the ID card. Or you can just keep a copy of a current school ID on hand, or maybe just take a current photograph and keep it with you on your phone or somewhere like that where it's easily accessible. You can also just make your own ID cards. I've told people you can do that, leave it on your phone, leave it in your wallet, and some different things that there are some different options you can use. Make up your own tags. I know everybody's different. Every kid's different. They may not tolerate some things, but maybe a tag on a piece of clothing like a shirt or a shoe, maybe a bracelet, something like that, that would have your emergency contact information. I've used the temporary tattoos even when we've gone traveling on vacation, and put that on my son's arm, and all it says is, I'm autistic, if found, call, and you can actually write with a erasable marker, write your phone number on their arm, because he wouldn't tolerate the tags and things like that. Another thing is there's several different options, and I'm not allowed to, recommend any in particular, but there's several different options as far as apps and GPS devices, apps for cell phones, things like that, that are out there. There's lots of free options and again, paid options. And you might consider maybe even giving copies of a current ID or a current photo and descriptors to your local law enforcement or your fire department in case there is a situation where they wander, and that way they might have that on hand right away. And take them down and meet the local police officers. I encourage people to do that too. We have people come by here sometimes and introduce themselves, and their kids to us, and that way we know who's in the neighborhood and stuff like that. So again, what happens? What should you do as a parent, or what would I do as a parent if there is an elopement or if somebody wanders off? First and foremost, and I know it's happened to me when my son was younger, and it's very panicky situation, a very stressful situation. But first things, call 911. Use that resource, because if nothing else, help can be on the way to you while you're looking and while the neighbors are looking, whoever's helping you. And be ready first thing. Just provide your location. If nothing else, if we know where you're at, we know where to come to. That's always the most important thing when you use 911. I actually work in the 911 center here at the sheriff's office currently, and that's the first thing we always ask people when they call us is, what is the address or location of your emergency? And then while the officers or the fire department or whoever's coming to help look is driving over there, then we can get all the pertinent details. So the Take Me Home program that we have here is a database maintained here at the sheriff's office. It's voluntary, it's secure, it's only accessible by law enforcement personnel. And what this database has for everyone enrolled is a picture of the person, their disability, physical description of them, and emergency contact information. Also in that database, there's a map of everyone that's registered in it. So when we look at it here in dispatch, we can tell who's in the area that's registered. We actually have, sometimes people will call and say, someone's wandered off, they're in your Take Me Home database, so we can look up their information that way. And this has happened to me personally. We've had people call and said, hey, I found somebody. This happened about a year and a half ago in Olathe, actually. Hey, I found this guy wandering around. He's appears to be special needs and he won't talk to me. I looked on that map. Sure enough, right down the street where they found him was someone enrolled. It worked out. I sent the picture to the officer that was responding, and she got there and said, yeah, that's him, and knew where he lived. So again, this is used in case someone's encountered alone or wandered off or reported missing. Our officers can access this database and get the missing person home. Instead of, like I say, instead of the old school, we find somebody and take them to a police station and wait for somebody to call in a missing person. To enroll in the Take Me Home program, we've had this program actually since 2011 here in Johnson County. It's again free to our residents here in the county and a voluntary thing. The form can be filled out and submitted right there at that link, at the jocossheriff.org link, or you can print it off and mail it to us or bring it to us. It's whatever's more convenient. On the online form, you can upload a picture right to it also. And I will say, when we do go out to community events and things, we do take our iPad with us, so that way we can enroll people on the spot also, if they want to do that. And this is kind of what it looks like on our end here in the 911 center. The CAD is our computer-aided dispatch. It's a separate computer system from the Take Me Home database. But if there's somebody in Take Me Home, when we type that address into the CAD, it will tell us. You can see this link down here. Just tells us that there's a Take Me Home candidate. That's a hyperlink that we can click on here in dispatch, or the officer in the patrol car can click on it and actually see the picture and descriptors right there, have it on hand. So here in Johnson County, who can enroll in Take Me Home? It's actually for any child or adult, again, that has difficulty communicating to a developmental or cognitive disability. We don't have a whole lot of restrictions on it. Unfortunately, they have to live or work or frequent the county for us to justify putting them in there. These individuals tend to be at a risk of wandering, and may include people with disabilities, again, anywhere from Alzheimer's, autism, dementia, Downs, traumatic brain injuries. We just really leave it up to the caregiver or the loved one that's enrolling them to decide if they want them in there. We even have some individuals that have enrolled themselves, some adults that decide, that have said to us, hey, when I get stressed out, I have a hard time telling people my address, my name, that kind of thing. And this statistic, as of the end of April, we've got about 726 people enrolled in our program here in Johnson County. Again, it's not just for children, it can be for adults for any reason. The Take Me Home program, the entry will include a photograph, disability, physical descriptors, and emergency contact info. And again, law enforcement's the only one that has access to it. And that's the only reason we use it. This slide shows you where the Take Me Home program actually originated. And I put this up here and all this contact information because this is a free database that Officer Jimmy Donahoe down in Pensacola, Florida, actually developed this software in this program. That's his phone number and email, and his link to his program in Pensacola. He does share this free with first responder agencies anywhere. There are several across the country, and I always tell parents, if this isn't in your local community, I would contact your local chief of police, fire chief, whoever's in charge of public safety in your community, and encourage them that you want this. And they can feel free to contact Lieutenant Donahoe or even contact us, and my information will be at the end of the presentation. And we'll talk to them about it. It's a matter of, we get an entry or an enrollment. It's really a matter of about 10 minutes to put somebody in the system and enroll them, sorry. Again, on that enrollment, we want their descriptors. We want a good photograph. I always encourage people, think of a yearbook when they're taking the photograph to put in there. Think of a yearbook or a driver's license photo, a nice picture of what they look like right now, just a close-up of their head and face so we can see it clearly. And here's some other free resources and guides that I've listed on here that have a lot of good information. What I mentioned earlier about securing your home or getting using apps and tags and things like that to help keep track of your loved one or to help get information out. Here's some good links, I think, for wandering prevention and that sort of thing. And the other side of it, I always give this class, like I said, to the police academy. And I always start the presentation and I talk about, I'm coming at this class as a policeman, but also as a parent. So it's this is the first time I've flipped it around. But I thought it would be nice, or I thought it would be important to share with families on here tonight. What if you've never had interaction with the police when there's been a wandering situation or something like that with your special needs loved one? What can you expect from us? And these are a few of the things you can actually expect from us. In law enforcement, we have today and for several years, we have access to training that's called CIT, or Crisis Intervention Team training. I've been through it, and most of my coworkers have been through it over the years. And what this is a partnership between the mental health community and law enforcement, others, to give training to mental health or to law enforcement on what to expect and how to interact with folks with special needs. It not only focuses on addiction and mental health, but also covers issues of developmental disability like autism. And back to when you have a wandering situation or somebody elopes or wanders off, when you call 911, part of that conversation, make sure you ask for a CIT officer when they're sending help. And the dispatcher, if it's me or another one, will know what that means. A lot of key agencies here in Johnson County have what are called mental health co-responders. I'm not sure about other agencies around the metro, but I know it's getting more and more prevalent. What a mental health co-responder is, they're actually a law enforcement officer and someone from the mental health department that ride around together and respond to these kinds of calls to help families feel safe and figure out what's going on and get resources and that sort of thing. And then there's my contact information. You can reach me at that phone number. And I forgot to put my email on there. I'm so sorry, but I can try to figure out how to add that in the chat. And I've never done this end of it. Are there questions from anybody at all?
There isn't yet, but we can. If somebody has a question, you can unmute, or you can feel free to put it in the chat. I did have a question for you, Eric. So what about those who drive? Can they be put into the Take Me Home program? Like if, I know most of the, I don't know. Talk to me a little bit about that, if they're a driver.
Yeah, we do have, that's fine. Like I said, we do have some individuals that are adults that are responsible for themselves, that have decided, hey, I've talked to several of them one-on-one. Hey, I get stressed out. I'm going to have a hard time telling somebody my name, my address, that sort of thing. And they've enrolled themselves. They can do that. That's fine with us. But you made me think of something. I'm so sorry. No. There is in Kansas also a way to get us designation, and it's voluntary also. A designation on your license plate and on your driver's license, actually, that you have a developmental disability. And that way police know, oh, but there's something going on here. I need to be a little more patient or look into this a little bit more if somebody's acting not how the officer expects them to.
Is that something that can be universal? Like, so I'm thinking of my son who just drove home from school last week from Arkansas, and he actually did get pulled over, but he didn't, everything was okay ultimately. But is it right on the driver's license so that they would see it like a Missouri officer or Arkansas officer?
Yes, I know in Kansas, I don't know about the other states, but in Kansas, if you go to that link that was earlier about the DMV, kansasrevenue.org, that is in there, and you can get that designation. It's voluntary. You can get that designation on your driver's license and or your license plate even. And I can't remember exactly how it works, but it does let law enforcement know that, hey, there's somebody here with a developmental disability.
And this brings up one more question. So for those of us who have enrolled our individuals in the Take Me Home program, what should we teach them to, like, when an officer approaches them or they go and find an officer, what should we teach them to say to an officer? That they're in the Take Me Home program, or?
Yeah, absolutely. If they can do that, that's great. Like I said, we train our local officers here about Take Me Home. They know what it is and how to access the database. And that would be great if they can do that. Just tell them I'm enrolled in Take Me Home. Awesome. We also provide, and in different agencies that you have Take Me Home around the country do different things, but here locally, we also have actually window clings that we offer to citizens too. If they want one, they can put it on their car or their house that just says special needs person. I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but it does say special needs person. It gives the officer a heads up so they know something's going on in that car or that house when they approach it.
That's great. And so you just said you train other officers in the area. So like all the local police departments, Olathe, Overland Park, Lenexa, Mission Prairie Village, I know they're all individual. So they all have access to this database.
Yeah. The good thing about Johnson County right now is that computer aided dispatch, or that CAD system. All the police officers in the county, even though we're in different agencies, we're all in the same computer system. So when an address is put in, we can all see that. Oh, somebody's enrolled in Take Me Home here at this address.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Barbie.
Okay, so I have 4 special needs kids, and that's a couple of them. That's their go-to is like run out the door. And I've had to call the police before, but it seems like they're kind of like not up to par on the special needs and understanding that, because I do foster care, but I had one little guy, he ran and they ran from police, and they're like, well, what do you want us to do? And I'm like, well, he needs a mental health screening, but it's like, it took a long time because they were not understanding like how special needs they are, and that's their go-to is to run. So how can I get like law enforcement to understand that these are not typical situations. These are kids who are in crisis due to past trauma. Sure. And they really need that mental health screening. They really need that, guidance, because like I too, that's their go-to is to run, to jet, because they can't deal with the trauma, their previous trauma.
Yeah. Well, I would start with maybe setting up an appointment to go talk to the local law enforcement, whatever city or county you're in, or have them stop by, outside of a crisis and just meet and talk to them and just talk to them one-on-one and let them know what the situation is and what you're dealing with. That way, when they do have to come out because somebody's eloped or something else is going on, then they've already got a heads up. That's always a lot better if they've already met each other and maybe, I can't speak for obviously for every kiddo, but if they're comfortable with it, let them meet the officer too outside of that crisis situation. I don't know.
So I'm in Johnson County, so we've met a couple of officers here lately, quite a bit. But that's the thing; it's just like they don't understand, I guess, that these kids are, in crisis, and it's nothing like in the moment. It's just that's their go-to. They run. They want to get, they don't want to deal with their problems at hand, or they just jet because they don't know why they jet. They just do.
Right. No.
I think. My suggestion, Barbie, would be when you call the police to ask for that CIT that Eric mentioned, and making sure that they bring a mental health individual with them.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you out in the unincorporated part of the county? Is that, or in one of the cities?
I'm in Olathe. I'm near like 167th and Ridgeview, but I've also had an incident over by Olathe North High School.
Okay.
Where, but it's like that time I did have a mental health screener, but then the other 2 times that I've had to call because I was like, my 8-year-old gets physically aggressive, and they were like, well, what do you want us to do? And I'm like, well, he needs a mental health screening. And they're like, well, we can't, where do you want us to take him? And I was like, Children's Mercy. And
Yeah.
then they're like, well, we can't take him. You'd have to take him. And I'm like,
Well, I mean, you can always, I would just, again, ask for that CIT officer. The Olathe has actually, police department's actually gone above and beyond a little bit. They're a little bit ahead of the curve. They have units now that are a mental health worker and a police officer in the same car together, and they actually respond to calls. So I don't know if, unfortunately, your situation, maybe those guys were already on a call when that happened. I'm not sure, but I would just keep asking for that CIT officer. Like I said, when I answer 911, I know what that is, and so do the other dispatchers, and the Olathe guys are those particular units are actually out there for those kind of calls, and that's what they're listening for on the radio when we put those. But yeah, I would just keep asking for them, and they've got those guys from Johnson County Mental Health with them, which has been a great resource, I think.
We had a question in the chat. It's where would you get a temp tattoo? It's a different idea. So where would you find that temporary tattoo?
Oh yeah, you'd have to Google that. I remember doing it a long time ago. We were fortunate enough to go to Disney World, and I was terrified he would wander off because he was in a wandering stage back in those days.
I think that I'm gonna have to find one of those. I run a mental health agency in Shawnee, Kansas, and I got a runner, so I figured somebody suggested that I come on here and find some new ideas.
If you just Google, I just did autism temp tattoo. There's,
Okay.
I mean, just dozens of choices, and they weren't very expensive, and they eventually wear off after a couple baths, I think.
Yeah.
But get the one. I'll suggest this because I didn't do it the first time. Get the one with the marker that wears off. Like I said, the one I bought was just the ribbon, and it said, I'm autistic or I have autism. If found, call. And there was a space for me to write my cell phone number on there. So yeah. And what was funny was I actually ran into a couple other people on that vacation, and their kiddos had the same thing on their arms.
Okay, that's a good idea.
But there's a lots of options. I'm sorry, I don't remember which brand I bought. It's been a while.
No, I'll find it. Thank you.
Yeah.
What other questions does anybody have? I don't see any on Facebook. When I talk to family, newly diagnosed families, I always share information about going to meet officers. There's so many donuts or coffee with a cop, and then there's some information, and I know our next presenters will be sharing some information. But whenever you see something going on that seems fun, take them and have the opportunity to meet officers in a friendly location, so that they realize that they're safe as well, and that they're your friend, and that they can go to them at any time as well.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great idea. And I know the police departments, we have stuff like that listed on our social media and our website, upcoming community events that we're going to. There's, with COVID kind of the lockdowns over and stuff, we're starting to do that sort of thing again this year.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to that, actually. But yeah, you can look on our website, on our social media, and we have some things listed already for this summer.
And I'm also going to encourage those of you who don't live in Johnson County, live outside of Johnson County, to advocate. If you call your local law enforcement and you find out that they don't have a program like this, the Take Me Home program, or if they don't have donuts with cops, or ices or whatever it is, advocate for it. Go in there and like he said, go out and introduce yourself and advocate for that. And, you know, take the time to schedule and say, hey, let's do donuts in my front yard, and have some of your friends come over and the officers come over. And the officers want, I know I can say this confidently, they want to meet your kiddos too ahead of time and have that opportunity and to be seen in a good light. So Eric, if you will stop sharing. And then we are going to have our emerging leaders start. Peyton, this year, our LEN trainees, emerging leaders, worked in our community outreach committee to put together something around elopement. I asked, it was great because at the beginning of the year, I said, hey, y'all, I get a lot of calls about this all the time from families, always worried about you know, their kiddos and locking the house up and everything, and how do we keep them safe? So when I asked this great group of ladies to help with this, they came up with the dynamic documents that you would have gotten in your email. If you didn't get them, please let me know. I am happy to put my email address in the chat and make sure you get a copy of them. But they created this amazing resources, and we look forward to being able to share it across the state. So I am now going to turn this over to Peyton, Mackenzie, Rahel, and Leslie.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, Deputy Wright, for such a really great and informative PowerPoint and information you shared. Some of the information that Deputy Eric shared is going to be kind of repeated on the resource. So we just want to let you know that, but it's really important information, and it will be something that you can, you know, print out and have in your own home. And yeah, we'll first go over a few statistics. Let me get that pulled up. These aren't meant to be scary, although they kind of are, because autism and elopement are a really serious thing. You can see here that there are a lot of instances where elopement can end in something really bad, like something lethal, something dangerous. And we want to do everything we can to help you and your family stay safe, prevent elopement, handle it quickly, and then, you know, maybe find ways that we can continue to promote behavior other than elopement. So promoting them staying in a safe space. So that's, again, what the resource will target. And again, here are just some more statistics here. So just making sure that we are doing what we can to keep our kiddos and loved ones safe. All right, I'll stop sharing that, and I will pull up the resource, and I will turn it over to Mackenzie and Rahel to talk about this first part here.
Yeah, so as Peyton said, we kind of created this resource along with a longer packet, but this is kind of something you could have like on your fridge or someplace, you know, close by, just to have in reference. So first, Rahel and I are going to talk about what to do before to be prepared in case your child elopes. Some things you can do that Deputy Wright already kind of touched on, but securing your home, using items such as door window alarms or outer door stops. Something that you can do is ask your provider, so whether that's like insurance or a case manager or something like that, you can ask them about funding, because sometimes these safety devices can count towards like a waiver or different things like that. So make sure to always ask just in case that can get covered. There's also identification tools. So you can make your own ID card. That's a wallet size, a tag on a shoe, a wristband, like we were talking about earlier, those temporary tattoos, little things like that. But it's important to update that card annually with a new picture and information. So you can just think of it as like a new school photo or a birthday, kind of make a set time every year to change that up. And then using personal locating devices. Some GPS devices may be placed on your child's shoes or be worn. And again, check with your health insurance company for a list of providers of possible medical like alert devices and things like that. And as Deputy Wright presented on, enroll your child in the Take Me Home program if it's available in your area, and advocate if it is not. So I'm going to send it to Rahel to talk a little bit more about other things you can do before.
Yes, also to be prepared, it's a good idea to meet with first responders, like it was said earlier. Just look for an opportunity to introduce loved ones to first responders, police officers, firefighters, and EMTs in a friendly and safe environment. Events like Coffee with Cups and Kicking It with Cups, we have some resource coming up too. Right now, Spring Hill Police Department is having their first ever ice cream social this Saturday. If you're in that area, it's from 6 to 8. They're inviting the whole family to go out for ice cream and some other treats. And then to head to Spring Hill Oil Co. to meet with the Johnson County and Miami County sheriffs just to listen to and questions and concerns. The other resource we have for you is, it was mentioned too, but Oleta Police Department, they have their summer community activities scheduled out, and it includes fishing with cops, kickball, golf, and bowling, and chilling with cops. It goes all the way through August 10th. So make sure if you live in Oleta area to go on their website and just stop by and visit with them. In the past, the Oleta Fire Department also offered Oleta helmet, hate bike rodeo. It did not happen last year, but hopefully it will come this time. But they will give out helmets for children. Also, it will give a chance for families to meet and greet with the first responders. The main thing to do is just to follow your local departments on social media to stay updated on events like Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, if you have that in your area, or to schedule an individualized meet and greet. The other thing to do is to enroll your child in a swimming lesson. Knowing how swimming can potentially save your child's life, it's good to contact your local community pool to see if they offer swimming lesson for those with disabilities. Right now, KU Department of OT, they're offering sensory enhanced aquatic for age 4 to 17 with autism spectrum disorders. And they're offering scholarship too. So registration starts this Friday, May 14, at 6 p.m. And we suggest that if you're interested in this, you register at 6, because in a few minutes it will be full and you won't be able to get that service. The other place to consider is Ability KC. They do offer aquatic therapy and adaptive swimming sessions for children aged 3 to 14. Some insurance companies do provide financial coverage, so it's good to check with your insurance. Last, it will be YMCA Adaptive Challenger Swimming Club. It's for age 4 to 30 years old. Price vary by center, so make sure to check with your location, and they also have financial assistance. The last thing I want to share is a form that we got from the Big Red Safety Toolkit. It's emergency plan checklist that you can complete before an incident occurs. That way you're fully focused and you can plan it and get phone numbers and talk to the people that you want to respond during an incident. So it's best to take time and complete this form and make copies and give it to the people that you want to get involved. So at the time there's an emergency, they will know what to do. So check that form out, and it's very useful, and that's all I have.
Yeah, and all the sorry, all the things that we mentioned in that before section, whether that's the IDs or the swimming lessons or events with law enforcement, those will all be in that booklet. So you'll find links to there just to go to those different websites. So it's in a place you can find. Does anyone have any questions, I guess, about the before we go to the during section? If not, I'll send it over to, I think it's Peyton.
Wait, Mackenzie, there is a question. Ashley, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, we're new to the area and my son is 5, so he'll be going into kindergarten next year. Are schools typically familiar with the Take Me Home program? Do you guys know, mostly in Johnson County, or is that pretty common? It's new to me.
That would be a question for Deputy Wright.
Sorry, yes, we do communicate with the school districts. We have some contacts at some of the schools, and we actually have some teachers that contact us or refer people to us regularly to enroll. So yeah, the schools know about the program also. And I know we're talking about young kids mainly in this presentation tonight, but if you know anybody that's older too, we do have also contacts with several nursing facilities around, or nursing home facilities around the county that also refer their families to us also. So yeah, but if anybody wants to help spread the word, that's great. Yeah. But if you talk to your school or your teacher and they don't know about it, again, have them contact us and we'll send them literature and send them information about it.
Hi, I'm a teacher in the Olathe School District, and I've shared out some information with some of the school psychs in the elementary schools as well. I'm an early childhood teacher, but it is helpful, and I sincerely appreciate the program.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? All right, we'll go on to Peyton.
All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of what to do during. So first and foremost, call 911. That is always the first order of business. And of course, I know that it's probably going to be hard to remain calm in times like that when you might be really in high alert. But do your best to remain calm and to share your child's name, their diagnosis, date of birth, height, weight, all of those unique things to your child. And maybe how your child would respond in a situation where they're greeted by an officer or someone that they may not know. And then next step would always be to search nearby water sources first. As you saw from the statistics shared, most incidents that occur that are fatal for children with autism when they elope are because of water resources and drowning. So enrolling your child in those sensory enhanced aquatics or other swimming lessons are really great too. If people have more questions about that, I actually did that during my first year of OT school, occupational therapy school, so I can answer questions about that. But yeah, so then calling 911, searching nearby water sources. If your child does have a GPS tracking device, make sure to share that with the law enforcement officer that you're speaking with. Also searching areas that your child would be attracted to, such as maybe places they've eloped to before, or if there's areas of interest that you know your child really likes a certain park or something like that. Check those areas quickly. And you can let law enforcement know too, because the more people that know, the more people searching is going to be better. We want to get as many people out there as we can, as quickly as we can, to make sure to, get your child back safely to you. You can also request an endangered missing advisory alert. And this will just kind of send out an alert to the whole area. And so people on the radio, I believe it goes through like the radio and all of those different things as well. And then those people that you may have designated to kind of help you search for your child in times like this, make sure to let them know, like, hey, like, we can't find my child, something's going on. if you can start searching, you know, your kind of designated area, call me if you see my child. So this is in a alert form that you can fill out. It's suggested to fill this out ahead of time, and again, keeping like a current photo, like Deputy Wright said. This is something that you could then hand to law enforcement, like in that time. It's going to have a lot of really helpful information for them to see and refer back to, because, you know, getting out that information over the phone is important, but to be able to have a hard copy with all of the information is really helpful. So here is something that you could maybe fill out to keep on hand and then be able to hand to officers, or you could even maybe hand it to them ahead of time in some way, and just letting them know, hey, this is my child's form. If I call you, this is all their information. So I will go ahead. Oh, sorry. If there are any questions, we can head those at this time.
I don't have a question, but just as you guys were talking about that, I'm thinking about how I could prepare. And when you said that about an alert that could go out that you can request that, I was thinking in my head, I would maybe create like a text list of all the people in my neighborhood with their phone numbers and things. So then I would have everybody's phone number on a quick list, and I could shoot it out to everybody in the neighborhood and have that kind of pre-prepared.
That
That's a
sounds
great-
like,
Oh, go ahead, Peyton.
I was just going to say probably the same thing as you, that sounds like such a great idea, and really, you know, thinking ahead of time and having that ready so that it's just one little swipe and a few words that you can send out. I think that's a great idea, Ashley.
So I know when we were putting this together, I actually asked Deputy Wright about this, the EMA, what is it? Go back one, Peyton. Sorry, I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Endangered missing advisory versus an Amber Alert. Because I said, would you put out Amber Alerts? And he said, no, that's only for kiddos that have been abducted. So I'll let Deputy Wright knows a lot more about these than I do. So I'll let you kind of share a little more information about that.
Yeah, sure. An Amber Alert, like you said, is something that's used for children that have been kidnapped or abducted. And that is something when we gather information as a dispatcher or a 911 operator and an officer when they show up on scene, that we actually we have contacts in Kansas, at least. We have contacts in Topeka with the Kansas Bureau of Investigations, and we would contact them and relay what we have, and then they would actually be the ones that determine that an Amber Alert need to be put out. Now, I know different agencies have different systems, and they might be called different things, but endangered missing advisory, whatever your local agency calls it, we have actually a system in Johnson County called JOCO Notify, and any citizen can sign up for that on the county website. And JOCO Notify is a system we activate here in dispatch for things like a missing person, or even if we're looking for some kind of suspect for something. And what that does, depending on how you as a citizen enroll in it, you would actually get a text alert or a voicemail, automated voice message to your phone telling you those kind of things. Hey, there's a missing person, or there's something going on in this part of town. So that's the system we use here in our county, JOCO Notify. Again, when you contact your local first responder, fire department, or law enforcement agency to meet them, that might be something you would ask them. Hey, what's your local notification system called? So I know what to ask for when I call in.
Yeah, that's another great idea. And I know all about that alert. I don't remember signing up for it, but I have signed up for it and gotten both text messages and calls when children are missing, or silver alerts too for the older individuals who end up missing. So thank you. Any other questions right now? Okay, we'll go on to Leslie then. Talk about what you can do after an elopement.
Hi, I'm Leslie Kamai. I'm here to talk a little bit about what you do after elopement. What it doesn't say on here, but on the opposite page, it's going to say is to first keep a check of yourself. Notice how you're feeling. Notice if you have, because you just went through something very traumatic. So you're probably going to be angry. You're probably going to be upset, and you're probably going to want to yell or be anything typical of being in a traumatic situation. But you really shouldn't do that. You really should, if you can't get yourself to calm down, maybe remove yourself from the situation until you can calm down. Reacting calmly is going to be your best bet in any situation, especially in a situation like this, because you need to be able to think about the steps that you are taking to prevent this in the future. When people with autism elope, there's usually a reason that it happens. It's usually goal oriented. One of the greatest things that you could do is keep a journal of everything that happens around when the child elopes, the behaviors that you happen to notice, any actions that you happen to notice, if they are trying to get out of doing something, if there's like homework that needs to be done and they're trying to get out of doing that. If you write these things down and along with the dates and the times and everything, you can maybe start to get a pattern going of when things like this happen, so that you can start to notice maybe ahead of time the behaviors or things that may trigger the elopement in the first place. When you try to figure out how your child eloped, well, first off, you want to ask them why they ran off. A lot of the answers are going to be because they like to run, they like to explore, they like to get to a place that they enjoy being, they want to get out of a situation that causes stress, or to see something that's interesting. When you find out why your child eloped, try to provide a different way for them to get that access. For example, if you think they are eloping because they like to run, try to find an opportunity and space so that they can run safely, like a track or a gym or a park with a fence. Keep a journal, like I was just speaking about, the date and time of elopement, where your child eloped to and where they were found, and events that occurred prior to the elopement. Again, so that you can maybe start to establish a pattern or be able to start noticing what triggers the elopements in the first place. Seek professional assistance. There are therapists that are specially trained that will help you in each situation be able to come up with a plan to work on the behaviors. There are all kinds of things that can be done. There are all kinds of games that can be played, and things that a therapist can help you with. They may have an experience. A lot of them have experience treating elopement, because elopement is a very common problem, especially with autism. Promote prevention through positive role play. Play stop and go with your child to teach them how to stop when commanded to. You don't really know necessarily when your child's gonna elope, but if you can work on the whole stop and go thing, you're going to have a better chance of a positive outcome of them stopping when they do run off. Try to make it fun for them and not negative, and maybe that could help them stop the elopement process. Celebrate successes. When your child responds positively to a situation that could have previously triggered elopement, use clear and direct communication to praise them, good staying or good listening or anything like that, to make sure that they know that you noticed that they were doing something positive instead of running off like you're trying to get them not to do. Create a plan that works for your family. Set a timer to remind you to check on your child and give them the praise and rewards when they stay in a safe area. Try to avoid making elopement negative, but try to make not eloping something very positive. Can you do the next page for me? I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the idea of a poster, where like if you're teaching a child to potty training a child, you put a poster up and put a sticker up for rewards for them, and at the end of it there could be like going out to dinner or a favorite game played or something like that. That can also be used in this situation with elopement. This is a copy of an elopement and behavior log. This is something that I would highly suggest that you keep, especially if you have someone that elopes a lot, because again, if you have everything written down, you can start to notice a pattern and hopefully stop the elopement from happening in the first place. If you keep it with your other important documents in a 3-ring binder or wherever you keep your important papers, this is easier for caregivers and non-family members, etc., to access information about your child in case of emergency. Like if your child has certain behaviors that they engage in that like the flapping of the hands or things like that, if you write those down also on the beforehand so that the police officers know what they're going to be engaging in when they do find your child. If they do find your child, then and share that kind of information with everybody. The behaviors that they engage in when they have a lot of anxiety. Write them down in your elopement and behavior log with your date and time of, like I said, with your elopements when they do happen and where they went to, what happened prior to the event, where the location was found, and then other notes like, again, what you think may have triggered the elopement and why they think that they did what they did.
Thanks, Leslie. Does anybody have any questions on these documents? You know, I will encourage, Peyton, will you go back 2 slides? I think the one I'm looking for. Yeah, that one. When you have babysitters or if your children are go and stay with family members, whether it's grandparents, aunts and uncles, or just friends, you may want to make sure that they have an updated copy of this as well in case something happens while on their watch, that they can be ready and have that information as well. Because obviously, if something like this were to happen, it happened to me when my son was very little. He eloped and we found him across the street up in a tree. And it was near water, and I went and got him swimming lessons the next week. But I also remember the feeling of, oh my God, where is my son? Nervous, not knowing, not being able to fully think out all of this information. So that's why we put this document together so that you can have that done ahead of time. And like Deputy Wright said, you can even share it with first responders ahead of time. If I didn't realize that at first, that you could send that stuff in, but that's great information as well to know. So just always be prepared. You never know. And I pray for every single one of you that you will never need this information. You will never need to go through an experience like this. But as we have all learned as autism parents or a parent of another intellectual or developmental disability, we don't know what's going to happen. So it's best just to be prepared. And so that's what we wanted to do with these documents, is to provide that information for you to be thinking about, not to scare you and by no means, but just really have you be prepared. And I know that that booklet that was attached to the email also goes into further details. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, Steph.
Hi, Robin. Well, we also hope that you will share this information again with other families you know that may need this information. Share about the Take Me Home program. If you're not in the Johnson County area, reach out to your local law enforcement agencies and ask them what program they have. We've mentioned several times on here. And just making sure that you find ways to keep your children safe. And that's what we all want. So if there are no more questions, or comments. I will share next month, June 10th, I believe it is. Yes, June 10th. Our topic will be on nutrition. So I know a lot of times my son specifically has like 3 food groups that he's had for about 20 years. So we will have one of our former LEN trainees joining us next month and presenting on nutrition and eating. So yes, thank you. Share with foster parents and all the pages. This will be archived. It will be out on Facebook, but it will also be archived on our YouTube page. All you have to do is go to YouTube and search Kansas Lend, and you can see tonight's. It won't be till next week that it gets posted, but then you can see all of our past presentations as well. And feel free to share. So thank you. We appreciate you joining us tonight, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.